Hi, Brian White is filling in for Buck. Welcome to Discovering. Well, with deer season less than a few weeks away, it's that time of year where our focus shifts from shotguns and small game to rifles and racks. So tonight, it's sighting in our rifles.
You do not want to support your gun by the barrel.
Rules to remember from the DNR, Venison tips, and one of the highest quality portable blinds you can buy. And it's built right here in the UP. It's time for another Only in the UP segment. Why are the streets of Daggett covered with tractors? That's all tonight on Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone, forests thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak, surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields, call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill, the eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
The shift in hunting is evident at the gun shop. Last week I was in talking about cleaning shotguns. This week I was back at the gunsmith to get some pointers on sighting in the rifle.
You can't just assume that your rifle shot well last year when you sighted in, and this year it's going to sight in exactly the same way. You need to go out and use the same ammunition you did last year and take 3 to 5 shots to shoot a group to see if anything has changed. There are a number of things that can cause your change. Your scope may not be solidly mounted. Your forend may have warped due to temperature and humidity changes. Action screws could have come loose. There's a variety of things that could have caused problems, but you need to know for certain that the gun is going to shoot exactly where you want it to. So you go out and you want to use a good rest. They make all kinds of them nowadays. One of the less exotic ones is the lead sled. It solidly holds your gun in place so that you actually know what the firearm is performing as. Regardless of whether you use a rest like this or if you use sandbags, these don't have sand in them, they just got corn in them, but they work well. You do not want to support your gun by the barrel. You don't want any pressure on that barrel because that will change your point of impact on the target. So you want to support by the forend and by the buttstock, of course. You want it to be as solid as possible. You want to be shooting off a good solid bench. You don't want to just throw a couple of jackets on the hood of your truck and rest the rifle on that and think that that's good enough. You got your target and you found that it's not shooting a very good group. This indicates that there's probably a problem with your rifle. If when you're checking you find any movement whatsoever between the scope bases and the rings, you've got something that's out of torque. And so you need to re-torque the screws to make sure those are all tight. You've also got screws up on your rings, and notice there is a gap, which is acceptable. You don't want them to be completely tight together. You'll collapse your tube or damage the tube of your scope. And on this particular type of a mount, you've also got a windage adjustment back here. These screws need to be very snug. When adjusting the screws, don't just go to your toolbox and grab your hardware store screwdrivers and use that. Use the proper screwdrivers, which are hollow ground screwdrivers for gun screws. If mounted properly, you should have Loctite on the screws on the bases, but no Loctite on your ring screws. Now that you've assured that everything is tight, you've tightened in anything that was loose, go back and reshoot your target again. And if there had been a problem with a loose mount or loose rings or something, your group should tighten up significantly, and then you can finish up your sighting in. If you're sighting in a rifle for the first time, in order to maximize the accuracy, you would want to use a variety of ammunition. They make a variety of bullet weights, bullet styles, and loads for all the different calibers. So you would want to get a selection of them and then shoot group for each one, and then use the ammunition that provides the tightest group. So you want to pick the one that the rifle likes the best. You let the gun tell you which ammunition to use.
Be aware of the quiet period from November 10th through the opening day of deer season. If you're going to sight in your rifle, we advise get it done ahead of time. And our recommendations are to find either a shooting range, a gun club. Most of them are open on Saturdays now. Get your firearms sighted in early, and remember that quiet period between the 10th and 15th. No firearms, no rifles being sighted in on public lands. Another area we'd like to talk about here today would be the bait restrictions for deer hunting in Michigan. It's 2 gallons regardless if you're on public property or private property. 2 gallons of bait at any one given time. Don't overthink it. 2 gallons is 2 gallons. We're not measuring it per apple or per sugar beet. 2 gallons is pretty common to judge if you got 2 gallons. How do we measure it? If you take your average 4 or 5 gallon bucket, if you don't exceed the halfway mark of that, you're going to be more than legal. The question we get is, can we have more than 2 gallons per day? And the answer with that is no more than 2 gallons at any one given time. So if you have deer activity in the morning, you can feed your 2 gallons in the morning. If that is gone, you may put more bait out so you do not exceed 2 gallons at any one given time during that day. All the attractants that you put out for that deer to come in, including your general bait, apples, corn, sugar beets, as well as your salt blocks and mineral blocks, do fall within the 2 gallon range. So if you put out one big mineral block, you may be at your 2 gallons already right there.
One of the best ways to be comfortable yet stay mobile is to use a portable blind. And one of the best is made right here in the UP.
They're pretty easy to set up. It only takes a couple seconds. Flip it up, make your bottom hook. You can hook them all the way up then. Simple to stake out. You can make adjustments real easy just with these sliders.
They're 6'3" tall and it's 6 foot diameter at 6 sides. What we found is that the hexagon shape gives it more edges, and it's also domed, so there's no flat roof lines. It holds a much better snow load. It also blends in nature more in the fact that there's more domed, rounded type objects in the woods than anything with a flat roof line. The 6 corners give it more edges so that it blends in better with most of the vertical trees and whatnot in the woods. So it's been pretty well thought out. We designed it around hiding it from wildlife. The patterns we pick, that hides from deer like you wouldn't believe. The reason that works so well is the large light gray areas that break up the browns and the blacks. It's a real high contrast camo pattern. It works extremely well on whitetails. It has, again, 6 sides, so it has 6 windows. It's split into 3 windows, what we call our rifle windows, which are 12 by 24 in the horizontal position, and then it also has 6 windows that are 24 inches tall and 12 inches wide. And our vertical windows, we call those our bow windows.
A lot of guys do tend to shoot out of, we always call these the gun windows, but you can shoot a bow out of these windows too.
One of the reasons we went down 24 inches is that it allows turkey hunters to shoot lower, and it also allows you that if you're up on a little hill and you have to shoot downhill with a bow, it allows you a larger window to get that angle.
We had the heavier duty zippers so that they don't freeze up, and they're hidden from the outside so that the moisture and snow and ice doesn't form on them. Zoom this up, it keeps all the air or whatever, it keeps it nice and warm in here. Got a few pockets in it for calls or gloves, whatever you want to put in them. It is wheelchair friendly. You can wheel them in, position them, close it back up, and they're pretty much all set to go.
This is our 6-foot model. It's large enough for 2 hunters. It's a real popular blind for guys that hunt with kids.
And I'm 6'3.5" basically, and I can stand up in this thing, no problem. And this one is our 5x5. It's a smaller, lighter weight. Doesn't take much to set it up. If you're just running from one spot to the next, you can just pretty much set it up because the rods that are on the ground, you can basically just set up right on top of those with your chair and it's not going to blow away from you. Pretty simple, pretty fast. All you got to do is you flip it, aim the hook towards yourself, grab the end, bang. You can flip this over your shoulder like this. You can pick up a stool, a gun. You can carry everything right with you and move in a hurry.
We're going to have the new Tetragon 5.5. It's our new model for this year. It's 7 sides, 5 feet 8 inches tall, 5 feet 8 inches in diameter. It's just turned out to be just an absolutely perfect size. You know, the material we use is called a Tough Tech 2. It's a brushed fabric, so it's very soft. It also diffuses the light, it doesn't reflect. It's treated on the inside with a polyurethane coating of blackout, so it is wind and waterproof. The other thing we do to it is we give it a 400-hour UV protection. We advertise it that these are built for hunters by hunters, and that's the truth. One of the most important things you can do with a blind is you have to break the silhouette of the blind from behind it. There's usually big trees, tall brush, whatever, behind the blinds that we set up. And that breaks that full domed silhouette. Then you can brush it in the front as much or as little as you want. Really, really good setup is underneath a droopy pine tree. Something where you can get real good bough cover, and the new Predator Deception Green, the blind disappears. And the Predator Deception Fall Gray is one of our favorites in the fact that we hunt hardwoods a lot. It works extremely well there. It'll also double up as a snow camo, but it breaks up really well in those big open hardwoods. And that's one of the reasons we chose that camo. You have to have, and most of the states are going with 144 square inches of orange visible at all times. Our band covers that, and we have 180 some inches visible at all times, and they do go on and off very easy. They just slip through the belt loops and they Velcro on each side of the door. But during firearm season, these blinds are so easy to hide. A hunter at 100, 200 yards away, you can't see that blind. During firearm season, I think it's extremely important that people do use that hunter orange on their blinds. And one thing that we're proud of is that these blinds are Buckle-Vassar tested tough. He's had one, and we figured we were going to test out and see how hard they were to put up, and we figured if Buck could put it up, we got her made. Right. He can handle it no problem.
We had to give him one of the shorter ones though. He couldn't reach the top.
Good old Buck.
September 1st this year was the day you could put your ground blinds out on public lands for deer in Michigan. That includes pop-up blinds as far also as man-made constructed blinds. The key is they need to be removed at the end of firearm deer season there. The cutoff for that is that the close out deer season January 1st. Make sure you pull your blinds back off of public property. You can't leave them out year-round.
You've shot a deer, you gutted it out and hung it on the buck pole. Now what? I talked to Steve at Sodermans Meat Processing to get a couple quick tips on what we can do to end up with the best meat possible.
One important factor that helps us out, if you could rinse your deer out, that would really help us a lot. Just bring a milk gallon jug of water or something to rinse your deer out. Helps with the meat too. If the weather permits, you can let them hang. It's actually better. Breaks down the muscles a little bit. As far as leaving the hide on or taking it off right away, it's no big issue. Anytime you take a hot deer and skin it out right away and put it in a cooler, the meat really firms up, and it does make a difference on the tenderness. And another thing that hunters fail to do a lot is to ream the back end out. We get a lot of them with it in. What it does is the heat doesn't come out as good as if it was reamed out. This guy did a fairly good job. He reamed it out real good so the air gets through there and gets that body heat out, and then open it up nice so that the heat gets out and rinse it out. Makes a big difference on your meat. Another thing that's bad with deer is rain. Keep it covered up or otherwise bring it into your processor as soon as you could. It helps a lot better for your meat. Something about the rain just, I mean, the hide does protect it, but it still breaks down the meat a lot more. This is actually a perfect gut job here. Nice and clean inside. He did a real nice job, rinsed it out. This guy's gonna have some good meat. The main deterrent of getting bad meat is having your deer dressed properly and rinsed out. That really helps a lot with your meat.
As far as spotlighting for deer, it is legal during certain time periods. We'll cover the month of November here. The standard law is it is illegal in November to spotlight for deer. Other than the exception, you may on your own property, or if it's owned by your immediate family member, you may shine on your own property there. You cannot go out on the public lands and shine deer in November. Other than November, the rest of the months throughout the year, you may shine for deer. The cutoff period is going to be 11 p.m. So if you can shine your own property, public property, up until 11 o'clock p.m. The other thing to remember is no firearms or bows in possession while you're spotlighting for deer. And that does include your vehicle headlights as well.
It's time for Only in the UP, the segment of the show that highlights the friendly, creative, crafty, and inventive spirit of those of us who live here. It's about that stuff that makes the UP the greatest place on earth to live. Fire up the farm, jump on the John Deere, and head for Stevenson. It's the third weekend of October and time for the 10th annual tractor run.
Call it the run. It's with tractors. It started out to be a run with old tractors. That's what it was intended to be, but there was so many, all kinds of tractors came in. We thought, well, let's just make it a free-for-all. And it's a poker run type thing. They buy a number and they pick all their cards here after the run. It's a Legion program. And then we go on a 12.4 mile run. We go from the Legion here, we cross 41 first thing, and Stevenson Fire Department, Sheriff's Department, they help us too. And then we cross in Daggett at about 3:30, and Daggett Fire Department comes and helps in the Sheriff's Department. We go across as a group. We're not staggered, so we get across safely. I was on my boat about 10 years ago, and we've seen these big long cigarette boats going from town to town. They were having a poker run with boats, and I'm thinking that's kind of neat. And on the way home I thought, we should do that with tractors, and that's where it started. And this is the 10th year. So we got poker run, we've got 50-50, we raffle a rifle. Normally there's been an average of 50 tractors. The last 3 years we've probably averaged 500 people per year. People come from Grand Rapids, Marquette. This year I guess there was somebody from the Garden Peninsula, a lot of locals. Some of the wagons are all dressed up for Halloween theme, and some people are all dolled up for Halloween. There's a lot of refreshments. We try to make sure that the drivers refrain, because the tractor is a motorized vehicle, and just like driving a car. We go from the Legion here to a field about 1.5 miles from here. We need a rest stop by then because everybody's ready to stop. We charge $10 per tractor and then $15 per wagon. And proceeds go to the Veteran Services Hospital in Iron Mountain.
We normally give like $500 a year.
My brother built a trebuchet, if you will. It's a big catapult, and it launches pumpkins. And then from the field we go to Belgiumtown. And we stay there for about 45 minutes. And then we head from Belgiumtown to Daggett.
Well, we come all the way down from Hermansville to check this place out, trying her out.
Out here in Daggett today,
Yeah.
we got good friends, we love to have fun, we're not hurting anybody.
Kurt from Escanaba in the Moonlight is here as well.
Escanaba in the Moonlight Camp.
Nothing's open in Daggett anymore, but we got some entertainment. And we're there for maybe 45 minutes to an hour.
We're hitting the good rain showers, but it's all part of being in the UP in Daggett, Michigan.
And then we come back to Stevenson on 041 to the Stadium Club.
This is my second year. Happy to be here. What good American fun.
And then we have a lunch, a meal here served by the auxiliary after that. And then we have music and dancing. It's a lot of fun.
Only in the UP.
Well, that's it for this week. Get those blinds ready and your rifle sighted in. Deer season is not far away.
Yeah, I'd just like to mention too that if there's hunters out there that don't particularly like venison or they have too much in their freezer, and if they would like to donate to the hungry, we do accept the deer and we process it, and then it goes through that organization. So if you do have some extra meat, it's always welcomed here. We usually generally get about 600 pounds to donate, so we'd like to thank all the hunters that participate in that program.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week right here on Discovering.